Let's get started.
Howdy, welcome back to Unknown Secrets of Internet Marketing. I am your host, Matt Bertram. Hope you're doing well. Got another great episode for you today. I got Jay here from subjectline.com. Maybe some of you have heard about it. He also runs Guru Media Hub. And I thought it'd be a good idea to bring Jay on because we've been having a number of discussions. I've had some other guests on, and we've talked a lot about email marketing, which I know about. I'm a jack of all trades, I guess, and maybe a master of some, but email marketing is not one of them. And, you know, Jay and I think feel similar. I'm going to let him say it, but I personally, and I'll just say it from my standpoint, that cold outreach sucks. Okay. And I think it damages brands. I think many people do it wrong. I mean, even like from the standpoint of they don't even get the field right, and then it's like and name. They don't even check it before they do the outreach. A lot of people, a lot of businesses are using LinkedIn, and they're doing mass outreach that's not personalized. And I think that, like, I even get these emails, okay, and I still have them. I'll accept an invite, and then they just keep hitting me with stuff, and they're not even relevant to what I would be interested or responding. And they're just sending me like 5, 10 emails when I click on whatever's going on. And I'm just like, I understand what they're doing because I'm in the space, but I would be so perturbed by it if I was a business and all these companies were not understanding my problem and then just blatantly trying to spam me. Jay, I mean, you're the expert in this. I mean, what are you seeing? And I want to move into what big brands are doing from a downloadable standpoint. Like, how are they leveraging email marketing? How should they be thinking about it going forward?
Yeah, I mean, to me, if email is done right, your email database is the most valuable asset in your company because it's the only marketing channel, which where at any one moment you can communicate to your entire audience for relatively no money. You can't do it on social. You're lucky to get in front of 10% of your network with a
Yep.
post. And search, you got to pay a boatload of money, and it's not easy if you're going to do ads. TV, same thing. But with email, you hit send, and there it goes to everybody in your database. But to your point, if cold outreach is how you are leveraging your email database, you are failing as a marketer, because not only is that from 5 years ago, that doesn't even work, but you're really creating a negative signal for your brand, right?
Yeah.
You may forget about not getting responses. All those people, like you just alluded to, that are getting those emails, they're like, this is annoying. This is garbage. There's no value here. So if you are not leveraging your email database and sending out stuff that is of value to the recipient, then what you are actually doing when you hit send is actually hurting your company. And there's so many easy ways to provide value and to get those emails opened. Email is doing better than it's ever done before.
Yeah, I was actually at Brighton SEO, and Moz was doing a big presentation, and it showed that email was doing better than everything else. Now on the on the email outreach, it's not good for your brand if the first thing that's being said is we need to set up 10 domains that are not that are not your main domain, right?
Right.
From a deliverability standpoint, and then you do the bait and switch. So it is for certain businesses, I guess, like a numbers game. But I think that there's much better ways to do it today where you can bring those people in to you. You can nurture those people, and you can build a brand that people want to do business with.
You couldn't be more spot on. And the way that email works, here's how you get email to work, whether you're promoting to businesses or consumers. What you really want to be thinking about is not always asking them to do something. Every time you hit send, you're not saying, download this, register for this, buy this. What you are doing is you're providing value. Here's a guide. It's ungated. Here, you could have it. Here's a new stat in your industry, right? Here's a 2-minute video. You don't have to fill out a form. You send these emails, you provide value, and you do that many times, 3 or 4 times in a row. And then that 5th time, after that recipient's like, oh, I like getting stuff from this company, this brand. They're giving me stuff that can make my life better, my professional career better too. And then you hit them up with, hey, by the way, this is what we do. Here's a free demo. Here's a whatever. Oh, yeah, I'm interested in them because they provide me value. So it's this idea that Gary Vee always talks about with social, but it works in email of, give, 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 and ask,
Yeah.
right? And that's how it works in email too. You can't just be like asking, asking, asking. That's called being annoying.
Well, I think the what's in it for me is, I think a good starting point, like the whiffum, I guess is how
Yeah.
I've heard it been talked about. But like people are always talking from their standpoint. This is what I have. These are the products for it.
Right.
Well, or these are the features, right? Here are all the features. Well, talk about the benefits. Well, talk about like the state of mind I'm going to be if I use the product. Like, talk about
Yeah.
what the solution does for me. How is this going to help me? Like you were talking about giving value. You got to understand what I'm seeing actually is really a need to understand and be very, very clear on who your target persona is, whether it be content, email, social, however you're reaching them. You need to be really, really clear on who you're talking to, why you're saying it, and like what's in it for them of why it's valuable.
And to that point, one of the tactics that works so well to get really high open rates, the percentage of people opening up your emails, probably the easiest thing that people can do, to your point about identifying who you're marketing to. In email, you not only want to identify, okay, who is this for? Who am I sending this to? But the sooner you could tell somebody actually who they are, the faster they want to engage. What do I mean by that? So when you send out an email, let's say it's your newsletter or it's some sort of guide or whatever, in that subject line, forget about personalizing with the person's name. That's from like 10 years ago. That's ridiculous. What you want to do is you want to tell the person who they are by their job function, by their title, by their industry. So for example, if I send you out an email that says, this is only for digital marketers. You're like, oh, that's me. I got to open this thing up. Or let's say you're in the retail industry, only for retail industry pros, right? When you put in the industry, you put in the job title, or let's say it's for a consumer, this is for affluent investors, this is for golf enthusiasts. You want to take whatever the market is that you are marketing to, and then you want to tell them this is who you are, because then the recipient sees that subject line, they're like, oh, this is for me, not for everybody else. And on average, it will actually lift your open rates by about 30% just by doing that. It's that simple.
I love the self-selection. I'm
Yeah.
actually, I just finished this 30-day challenge on Facebook. Okay. So I posted every day for 30 days. I wanted to just see what happens. I don't really use Facebook from a marketing standpoint. And I was just seeing how the algorithm's changing. And absolutely, when you call out, hey, this is for you, everybody else just forget about this, right? You get a lot more engagement. The algorithm understands. What are you seeing on the backside of it? So I think that that's a simple way for companies that are getting into email marketing to, if they're going to just broadcast it out to their whole list. What are you seeing on the backside of that with like lead scoring or how to sort emails? Like, what are the things that need to happen to maybe even be able to select it more, to then when you push send, you're sending it to the right people? Or like, how are you doing segmenting on the back end, or how would you suggest companies do that?
I think one of the hidden secrets about segmentation is when you send out your email, okay, and in your email, you'll have content blocks in there on different topics, or a newsletter with different topics. You want to be very intentional about what those topics are. So let's say you were sending out a newsletter about digital marketing, and then you had a content block that said something like the biggest issues with SEO and AI or whatever,
Yeah.
okay? And anybody, though, that clicks on that link for that content block is essentially raising their hand and saying, I need help with this, or I'm interested in this, or this is
Yep.
something that I find valuable. What most marketers are not doing is they're not then going into their CRM. They don't have it set up that based on what the content is within their emails, that they're assigning tags about what that content's about. So in the future, when you say, oh, we have a new product offering for, AI, SEO stuff, let's go pull everybody who interacted with content related to that topic. You have segmentation available to you that you're not leveraging based on what it is that you're talking about. And that is the best way to actually be able to segment without asking people. Say, hi, what are you interested in, which nobody's going to tell you. Let them raise their hand, and then make sure you're tagging that in your own database.
Okay, so I'm going to just back up for some people and frame this up, because I think there's a lot of people that are high speed that listen to this. This is more of an advanced digital marketing podcast, but for a lot of people in your CRM, Okay. And you can use a email tool to be your
Yeah.
CRM, but a lot of people will bolt this on. You can use Zapier to create tags. There's other tools that you can use as well. But what you're doing is you're setting up triggers based upon a tag. So for example, you can have someone who fills out a form on your website. It goes into your CRM. And then you can either say everybody gets this drip email, right? Like a trigger of automation, or you can see it came in on whatever page. Like, so you can have different forms associated with your different services, and then you can add that tag, that tag, and it triggers an email drip or a different kind of email drip. Um, and you can have pre-built email drips like canned responses for emails. There's a lot of different things that you can do that's not really difficult to set up, but you got to understand what you want to happen and map it out from a strategy standpoint first to kind of show what's happening, what emails, like what the sequence is. There's a lot of layers to this, Jay. If people aren't like I personally see a lot of big companies. Actually, the interesting thing is the smaller companies actually have a better handle on email marketing than the larger companies. I think they've been kind of leaning on their brand a lot. And I think those moats are starting to come down and they're starting to go, okay, what do we need to do to kind of digitally transform like how we operate online? But they're really using tools from a basic setting, or they're trying to get like that CRM integrated and their marketing's not attached to that. I mean, when you run across that problem, or how do you suggest people map it out if you were to kind of set the table for a new client coming in when you're assessing what they have going on?
I think the biggest fail, and to your point, is people don't have themselves set up properly. So what they do is they go, well, we're going to wait to get our emails out the door till we really have our act together, till we have the perfect automation flow, the best possible content, so on and so forth. And basically, for the most part, their email databases sit there relatively dormant. And the biggest issue with email deliverability, it used to be the way that you stayed in somebody's inbox was by avoiding spam trigger words. You used to have to avoid things like the word free or an exclamation mark or capitalization or anything like that. Content, the words and symbols and stuff that you put in a subject line or headline have nothing to do anymore with why you stay in the inbox or not. Spam trigger words are a myth. If you see them out there, they're garbage. They're not true. But the reason you stay in somebody's inbox versus the junk folder, spam folder is based on engagement. How often are people open, clicking,
Mhm.
interacting with your emails? So the irony of email, which everyone thinks people are sending out too much, it's not true. If you don't send out enough email as a brand, you can't generate enough engagement to actually stay in the inbox. So while you are waiting to figure out your plan, okay, you are actually hurting your ability to ever stay in that inbox. So what you want to do before you have the world's greatest plan is focus on some decent content that won't suck, that your entire population will probably be okay consuming and like, and get it out there and get it out there consistently. If you're not sending out at least one email a week, at least, believe it or not, you almost have no chance of staying in that person's inbox. So before you come up with triggers and segmentation, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, figure out a plan for the masses that's not terrible so you can keep the lights on. So when you do have your plan all together, you actually will go into the person's inbox, because if not, you are screwed.
Oh, I love that. And like, what is the degradation rate that you're seeing? Right. So people have like old email lists, right? And I've talked about this a number of times of like, what is the relationship you want to have with somebody? Like minimum, you have to send something once a month
Yeah.
because they're going to forget who you are. They're going to forget they opted in to whatever it is. And they're going to be like, who is this random person sending me an email when you get all that stuff together? So you need to keep it active.
Yes.
Like you need to, continue to work it or it degrades. I mean, what have you, I
Yeah.
love that you got to get started immediately. I mean, what are you seeing though? If someone's like, "Hey, we got a huge email database, but we haven't sent an email in like 2 years," like, and then they send out a mass email, they're
Don't
going
do
to
that.
get all shut down, right?
Yes.
Like they're going to
Yes.
get in some big, it's going to cause problems, right?
Oh, massive problem. So what you got to do, let's say you're in that situation. You either have a database you've never sent to, or now you have a database, you don't even know where it came from. And you're like, I just want to send to it to get rolling. Don't do that. The first thing you want to do is you want to put it through a validation service. There's a zillion of them out there.
Yeah.
I'm not an affiliate for any of them. I happen to use a company called Zero Bounce. They're pretty good, but it doesn't matter. There's a lot of them out there. You take the database, whatever it is, and I do this annually, once a year at least, and everybody should do this, consumer marketers or business. You put it through a validation service. It will remove all the bad stuff, the stuff that's going to cause you a massive headache. But then after you remove all the bad stuff, what you really want to think about, even if you have been sending to your database somewhat, you want to have a window. I like a window of 18 months. Anybody who has not opened or clicked on an email within 18 months, you put them off to the side. You don't get rid of them, but you put them off to the side. And then you do your regular sends to your 18-month window engaged database. And the reason you want to do that is the receiving email infrastructures like to see that people are opening, clicking, and interacting, and they're going to leave you in the inbox. If you have all the boat anchor contacts that are not doing anything, haven't opened or clicked in over 18 months, it's telling those receiving infrastructures, hey, this sender, they send a garbage. Nobody likes their stuff. This is not good. Stick them in the junk folder. But you don't
Mm.
want to get rid of all of those old contacts because they're still the right people, all the right things, whatever. So about 3 or 4 times a year, when you have something really important that you want to say, you can then bring those people back in the fold. And if you think about like the around the holiday time, around Christmas time, all of a sudden, when you go to your inbox, you start getting emails from brands. You're like, am I still on this list? Right. And that's
Yeah.
because it's that moment of the year where they take everybody who has not been engaging and they send it out to everybody, and you're still on that list because they know that that's the right time of year for them. And whatever your business is, there's a right time of year. So you really want to think about your database in different ways. You're engaged versus you're non-engaged, and it's not just one database.
Okay, so when we're talking about, again, we're kind of dancing around segmentation here.
Right.
Um, so you have like your existing customers,
Yeah.
right? And then you have your prospects. Are you sending the same content to both of those people, or how would you separate it? How would you map out like a basic plan for somebody that's got this old database? They want to get started.
Yeah.
Like, how should they look at it? They need to
Yeah.
get going. They need to do it. They need to warm everything up. Like, you got to warm up these accounts.
Yeah.
What do you also, what do you think of that? These outbound outreach people are like, we're going to send emails, right, from a new domain to each other for whatever amount of time. They're using AI agents now to do it, to warm these up before they kind of integrate it in with who they're going to send. And then they kind of spread out the balance. Like, there's all these games
Yeah.
to trick the system. And again, with SEO, there's been just a separation of the wheat from the chaff of like, the tricks don't work. Like, you just got to be good. Like, go back to good marketing. So I'm just curious how you would uh have people look at setting up their framework from the beginning.
Yeah. So let's say you're either setting up from the beginning or you're switching to a new platform because you
Yeah.
think that a new platform is going to be better for you, and you got to warm up, as they say. You're sending infrastructure. The reality of it is the people that have to warm up or have to play all the games, do all the tricks right out of the gate, they're doing it wrong. Because if you are getting people to really opt in for your content, if you're getting people to really raise their hand, say, I want more from you, whatever it is, these are really your buyers, your customers, your whatever, you don't really need to warm up anything because they're going to interact. They signed up, they want this stuff. And
Yeah.
without getting too technical, there's two ways that emails go out the door via IP. When you send an email, it's coming from an IP address. Okay. And it's either coming from a dedicated IP address, which means the mail that is going out on that IP address is only from your brand, or it's going out on a shared IP address. And for anybody out there, if you're sending out email, whatever platform you're on, you should know, am I on a shared IP address or a dedicated one? Now,
Mhm.
people that are on a dedicated one are big senders. Like Nike is on a dedicated IP address because they have a lot of volume. And
Mhm.
it's okay for them to be on dedicated IP address because they want to be in control of everything that's going on with their sends. But the
Mhm.
majority of marketers, like if you use Constant Contact or MailChimp or HubSpot or whatever, 95% of you are probably on what's called a shared IP address, which means
Mhm.
when you hit send, you're not the only sender who's sending from that IP address. There's hundreds of others. And that's actually a really good thing. And the reason
Mhm.
it's a really good thing is you're able to piggyback on the engagement of all these other senders. And you really don't need to do all this warming up stuff to the same
Mhm.
extent because that shared IP address is already very warm. So as long as you're not sending out garbage and just cold solicitations, you are going to be fine. When you warm up, is when you are trying to trick it, you cold emails, all this garbage, almost like hide from your own brand. And that's a recipe for absolute failure. It'll work for a minute and then it won't work, and you'll be chasing your tail over and over and over again.
Oh, I love that. So what are you seeing? Well, okay. So the second part of that question, I
Yeah.
know I kind of
Yeah.
pushed a bunch in there, was if they have their client
Oh,
list,
yeah. Right.
right?
Right.
Right. And then they
Yeah.
have like their prospect list.
Yeah.
Is that all the segmentation you need, or should what like how should they be looking at is there a do I need to be sending out okay, one a week to all my clients, to the prospects? Can it be the
Yeah.
same one? Like
Yeah. So it's a great
or
question. So for the most part, unless you have something that really can apply that is super engaging, that can go to both prospects and current customers, which is rare, you want to separate them out. And the reason that you want to send them different stuff, your prospects and your current customers, is that your current customers kind of like you. They've bought in, they're spending money with you, they need to know what you have going on, and you
Mm,
could actually be a little bit more verbose. We even look at the number of words. So you can send emails that have about up to about 150 words to your current customers. But prospects don't care about you. You know, they're barely opening that email. They're barely reading the email. They just don't care yet. And you can't be verbose because that you got to get them hooked really fast. You actually have to cut down. So we see it as under 75 words when you're going to prospects. It's like dating. You know, if you're married to somebody, they got to listen to your crap that you're saying because you're married. But if you're trying to get somebody to date you, you got to sound good. You got to come out of the gate good. You got to look good. It's two different experiences. And that's how you really have to think about when you're segmenting out prospects versus customers. It's two very different populations of people.
what would you say about the different kind of branded template emails, right? If someone's getting started, most people get started with like a newsletter, or do you think just a regular email works good? And then there's all the little tricks of getting people to click on stuff or images or videos. Like, how do you look at all that?
Yeah, look, having a newsletter is really, really important, but it's a hamster wheel that's hard, right? You need to once you start it, you got to be able to set up to be able to continue to get it out, and it has to be really, really good. So if you're not ready for that newsletter, and the newsletter is great because you get to stay in front of the person continually. If you're not ready for that, then you want to get out emails that have really great content, right? That maybe don't have to be on a rigid schedule, but are providing a lot of great value. But there are things inside of the email that we screw up, we make really boring. I'll give you an example. So whenever we send out an email, what do you have in there? You have a call to action button, those long rectangular buttons in there. And let's say you're trying to get somebody to, I don't know, sign up for a webinar. All right. So what do we all do? We send out the email and the button says register, right? Or you want somebody to download a piece of content. The button says, download. We all make this ridiculous mistake that we always are putting words on those call to action buttons that is to the benefit of me, the sender, but it's not to the benefit of the recipient. Just by changing your call to action buttons and making them first person, we see click through rates rise by over 25%. So, what do I mean? So, instead of register, it would say, yes, I want in. Or instead of register, it would be like, save my spot. Or instead
Mm.
of download, it would say, give me that free guide, right? Or instead of buy now, it'd say, I want my 25% off. When you change it to first person and you get the person a little bit more engaged, this is how you win. And in an email, there's no one thing you're going to do. It's a lot of little things like that that add up to really be game changers.
No, I love that. Let's talk a little bit about subjectline.com, and you get a lot of data of everybody entering in the subject lines. I'm wondering like what kind of data are you tracking? Anything that you can share of like
Yeah.
what's working or what people are trying? Because I get a lot of complaints. What I see clients doing right now is they're getting familiarized with ChatGPT or AI, and those subject lines are very similar. Like
Yeah.
I can kind of almost read them. I think other people are starting to be able to go, okay, I know that that's AI, and you're just going to automatically zone it out. And
Yeah.
and so I think that there's this kind of pendulum swinging back to like real brand, real authenticity, like but it's great to see data at a large scale of
Yeah.
what's happening. Is there just anything that you can share that
Yeah.
you're discovering? I'd love to just kind of let you free flow on interesting stuff.
Yeah, so I love subject lines because, so often marketers spend so much time on what's in the email, but if you don't get it open, who actually cares, right? And there are very little things you can do in the subject line. So the thing about the subject line is everyone will always be like, well, how many characters should it be? Should it be 50 or 60? And that's irrelevant. What people don't realize is that nobody reads the whole subject line. Right. You could write Jay's a big loser at the end of your subject line. No one will ever see it. What we do is we do the social scroll and we look at the first few characters, the first word or two in the subject line. And what we have found that's working really well right now, for example, a number. If you start your subject line with a number, the 3 pitfalls to avoid, the 4
Mhm.
hottest fashion trends, the 9 things you need to know, an actual number crushes it at the start of your subject line. It'll lift your open rates by about 15 to 20%. Another thing that's working so well at the start of your subject line is capitalizing the first word or two. I don't mean the first letter. Maybe it says just in and all the letters are capitalized, or new and all the letters are capitalized. It stands out just a little bit. So when you're doing that social scroll and that millisecond pause, it grabs you. Another one is brackets. Take whatever the thing is that you're doing, just in or new offer or live event, or it doesn't matter. You stick it in brackets at the start of your subject line. Again, it grabs that person's attention for a second. They look at it and that gets them to open. So if I was going to focus on anything, I would focus on the first few characters, first word or two, because it works incredibly well.
Yeah, I mean, I do that with emails to clients sometimes, right? Like inboxes are just getting full and like capitalizing the first letter so it stands out just enough to if you're
Yeah.
looking to get that kind of response. And from all the Dan Kennedy stuff and everything that I've
Yeah.
read, I mean, you got to spend that subject line is where I think 80% of the copywriters spend their attention because
Yeah.
like if you can't get past that, you don't get anything else. So it doesn't even matter. And so you're testing out. I've tested out a lot of different subject lines, and you'll find that certain ones work better. It's great for you to share some of the things that you're seeing at scale
Yeah.
with subjectline.com. I would encourage everybody to go check that out. So, what are big brands doing? Like, how are they incorporating email? Are they calling it email? Like, automation, like text. I mean, there's so many little things that people are starting to do now. There's all the people that are doing like, I'll send you a 2 cents on PayPal, right? Or like there's
Yeah.
people are doing all kinds of things to grab your attention
Yeah.
to get you into whatever. And I think it's just becoming a lot of noise. And I think there, like you said, there's this thing of consistency that they understand who you are, you keep showing up, you're adding value, and you're going to build that trust over time. I don't know. What are you
Yeah.
seeing big brands do? Yeah.
First of all, email's working for big brands. And I guess the two things that people should think about with email is number one is getting the email address. Big brands are doing pop-ups. People hate pop-ups. I love pop-ups. But people will be like, a market will be like, well, I don't want to do a pop-up on my website because that's annoying. They annoy me. I would never do that. But if you go to Nike for the first time, clear out your cache, okay, or go to a zillion different giant brands for the first time, you will see that they throw a pop-up at you and they'll be like, we'll give you this discount, just give us your email address. And the reason they do that, they know the value of that email address. And people are sleeping on pop-ups because people go to your website and they leave and you have nothing to show for it if you don't get their email address. So if you are not using pop-ups to grow your email database because you personally think they're annoying, then you're missing out on probably the easiest, cheapest way to grow your database. And then the other thing that big brands know is everyone's like, oh no, my emails are going in the promotions tab, whether it's on Apple's new thing or it's in Gmail, and that's terrible. I got to get out of the promotions tab. But big brands know the secret, which is that the promotions tab is actually a great place to be. People think, oh no, I got to get out of there. The promotion tab is actually part of the inbox. Okay.
Mhm.
And the other weird thing is very few people actually even use the promotions tab. It's less than 30% of Gmail users and less than 10% of Apple users are using the promotions tab that's in their inboxes. And the weirdest, craziest stat of all time is that people that have the promotions tab enabled, they check it 50%. 50% of the people check it daily, which is wild because it's like when you go to the mall, you're in buying mode. That's what you're doing there. When you are one of those people that 50% of the time you're checking it daily and you click on the promotions tab, you're there intentionally looking for stuff that you want. So going to the promotions tab does really well. Brands know that, big brands know that, and it's everybody else that freaks out that tries to get out of there, which is just a big mistake.
Is the data something like, someone keeps an email address on average for like 8 years or something like that?
Yeah, and it's getting longer and longer and longer, and it's wild. And that's why the email address is so valuable in this world where everything's changing all the time. It's crazy. You can't reach anybody. I don't have to tell you, but like the social algorithms are nuts. I mean, you could post something, it doesn't matter. You could have your followers don't see it, and so email is becoming more and more important because you're in control of that moment.
Okay, so let's go a little bit advanced. So say you have all these emails. What are the big brands doing from like a data enrichment standpoint, right? Like, so they grab all these emails, they have just big data. What are they doing with that data, or what are you seeing?
Yeah, look, a lot of it now is data that they're getting from the individual. There's so many privacy regulations now that enhancing the data is getting, it's not hard to do from a technical standpoint
Yeah.
or from a data availability standpoint. It's hard to do from a compliance standpoint.
Mhm.
So almost all the data that's being assigned to a record is based on what they're doing on your site or with it, different media that's out there, and they're assigning those values to the individual records. It's weird because it's like we can do so much more, but ironically, we can't do anything.
Yeah, I'm actually seeing a big shift from, because of all the privacy stuff that's happening, is okay, the sales process or the customer journey, more and more of it, if you can drive it to your site online and use your site as an interactive
Yes,
tool, you're going to pick up and capture a lot of things. Now you can typically unify that email address with social accounts, right? And anything that's out there publicly. And then you get a sense of what's happening. But like I'm seeing a lot of funnels, like, which emails are a huge part of the funnels of these big brands or even nonprofits. Their funnels are going from like one website to another website or to like a database, and like you're losing like UTMB tracking codes and stuff. And
100%.
so like, um what are recommendations, if people from a strategy standpoint are evaluating, hey, we need to update our email program, we need to do this, because I think there's a lot of mid-tier companies that like are scaling, right? And a lot of companies that I'm working with are really starting to lean in to digital marketing where they haven't in the past. They've just leaned on B2B salespeople. And I saw that shift happen with COVID, and they had budgets that they could start putting against not conferences and things like that. But they're really now starting to like, oh, I know what SEO is. Like, we don't have to get that one line item improved. Like, okay, sales qualified leads, marketing qualified leads, oh, they can be the same thing. Like, there's a lot of this kind of unification happening of like the sales process on and off site are are one and the same, right? And I think that email piece is one of the first pieces people should add. On the pop-ups, I will just say, uh, do an exit pop-up or like a halfway page pop-up. Don't necessarily do like immediately when you go to the page and
Yeah.
immediate put a pop-up. That is super annoying, but also Google does not like that. And so now if you have a big brand, you're driving ads, so be it. If you want to drive them to a landing page, but just kind of, I just want to add that note. But yeah, what are you seeing as email relates to the overall funnel? Like, kind of, let's open up the perspective, I guess.
It's everything, right? And I think one of the biggest fails is speed. How fast are you getting back to the person when they give you their email address? That's the
Mhm.
most important part of the funnel. And the reason being is this. So let's say you have a trade show booth, they give you their email address. How fast you getting to that person? They downloaded something. How fast you getting to that person? They bought something. How fast? And the issue is number one, if you don't get to them within 3 hours, which to me is still ridiculously long, then the person forgot about the interaction and
Mm.
they're not going to engage. But that first email that you send to somebody is the most important email you're ever going to send them, not because you're establishing what your look and feel is or whatever. If you can get the person to open and interact with that first email that you send them, from a technical perspective, something happens, right? You are sending to somebody and they are receiving it, and they're receiving infrastructure is waiting to see, does the recipient like this new thing that they're receiving? Are they opening, clicking, and doing? And if the recipient likes the new thing and they open and they click and they do, then the next time that you send, the receiving email infrastructure is like, okay, let's leave it in the inbox. But if the first time you send an email to somebody, they're like, they don't do anything, it just gets ignored.
Mm,
Maybe it's because it took too long to get there, or you wrote the worst subject line, whatever, then your likelihood of going to the junk folder goes up exponentially. So, what you want to think about is that first time you hit send, right? That automation, that autoresponder, that whatever, that subject line needs to be sensational. Like, just for VIPs, a gift inside, or
mm.
thanks for signing up, you got to see this, or this is just for you because you signed up. Something to get them to interact with that first email that will dictate the relationship that you have with that person forever. Okay. And so speed is important. And then what you send is important. And that would be the most important trigger, automation, anything that you could be doing. Because if you don't get that right, everything else falls apart.
No, I love that. I think that people are so right now, I think that people I where my mind went when you said that went to AI. Okay. And it went to AI, not that everybody's using ChatGPT and creating a subject line. It went to what is the algorithm doing, right? Like, so social media, same kind of like algorithm setup. Like, does somebody like this? Do they engage quickly? There's basically a window, right? On
That's right.
Facebook, it's basically like 5-6 hours. Like, what's happening? How many people are engaging? Like, there's we've been like immersed in AI for so long, and I don't even think people like realize how important it is in our lives and how we use it. I mean, all across marketing, all these major infrastructures, like you're talking about email infrastructure, are leveraging AI, machine learning, algorithmic based decision making, and open time to open, I guess, time to open is absolutely one of those metrics. What are some other metrics that you would see? And then let's and if you want to frame this up, one of the things that we're doing is we're starting to do some more shorts. One unknown secret of internet marketing, or if you want to kind of
Sure.
frame it in that way, we could capture some good content
Sure.
there.
I'll give you a
Yeah.
couple of hidden gem secrets that people aren't aware of as it relates to email marketing. So, one secret in email marketing is that your logo in your email message doesn't matter if you're a consumer marketer, business marketer, doesn't matter the type of message you're sending out. 20% on average of all clicks in an email message are going to be on your logo. And the reason that's a big deal is when everyone gets their email set up, what do? They have their logo going to their homepage, right?
Mm.
Instead of the offer page or whatever it is that you're promoting. So 1 in 5 clicks are not going to the offer page of what you are promoting. Nobody's thinking about the traffic on their logo. So that's one that's easy to change. Another easy email thing to think about is adding a PS to your emails. Nobody actually reads your emails. They open it up. Maybe there's a headline they read, maybe the first line, maybe a bullet, and then they go to the PS. Just by adding a PS and including the same offer again in your PS with a link, it'll increase your click throughs by about 15% overall. You want to think about all the different pieces of your email message. What is going on? One of the things that drives me bananas when you hit send on an email, okay, you're hoping something happens. You're hoping people subscribe. You're hoping they download something. You're hoping they buy something. You're hoping they register for something. And what do? We include links in these offer emails to all sorts of places. Why would you have social sharing links in your email if you're trying to get that offer taken advantage of? Are you looking to get more Facebook followers? Or are you looking at the offer to be consumed? So think about everything that you're putting out there because you want to drive everybody to that one offer page. And that's how you could really change your conversion rates.
Oh, I love that. Um, Guru Media Hub, Jay. Like,
Yeah.
no nonsense. Jay knows emails. You can tell like what do you do? Like, hard pitch, give us the highest converting 75 word email. Give it to the audience right now. Let's hear it.
So here's the good news. You can't give me any money. You can't spend money with me because my Guru Media Hub business, everything is for free. You can go to subjectline.com. You can't spend money there. It's a free tool. You could use it as much as you want. My virtual events are very large. So we put on the world's largest virtual email marketing event. It is free. guruconference.com. We'll have 30,000 people there this year. We had Joey Chestnut eating spam last year. We had Sarah Jessica Parker there. It's virtual, it's free. It's 2 days about email marketing. That's guruconference.com. And also, I have all sorts of other media stuff. I also have a podcast, Do This, Not That. We're top 5 in the United States in the marketing category for almost a year now. So everything I do is free. And that's the best sales pitch I can give you.
Well, okay. I appreciate that. And we'll definitely get those links in the show
Yeah.
notes for you. So, but if someone wants to hire you,
Yes.
right? Like
Right.
you do take money, right?
I do take money, yes. So I also have another business called Outcome Media. It's a demand generation agency. We're about 100 people here in South Florida, and we work with mid-market enterprise brands, B2B, B2C. We work with some of the biggest brands in the world doing pure demand gen, email, direct mail, podcast advertising, digital media, print media, you name it. We don't do search. So that's your world. But we do all that. So if anybody's interested in running demand gen programs, you could hit me up on LinkedIn, and I would love to talk to you.
Awesome. Well, Jay, thank you so much for coming on. Uh, everyone, until the next time, my name is Matt Bertram. Bye bye for now.